Ross Dellinger has gotten his hands on court filings. And one of the major things we've talked about on this show is exactly what's in this court filing. Because, again, I will tell you point blank, if you've listened to this show, you know, Jake and I have already seen these documents.
Mm-hmm.
We have already reported everything that is in these documents from Ross Dellinger. And that is that the PAC-2 are standing on the belief that previous actions in the conference is what's going to save them. What you're looking at here is a legal document that the PAC-2 is filing, saying that Phil DiStefano, the chancellor at Colorado University, texted Commissioner Kliavkoff stating that the CU Board of Directors intended to vote later in the afternoon to join the Big 12 Conference. Now, why is that significant? Well, it's written notice that Colorado intended to leave the conference. Now, you'll notice General Counsel Scott Petersmeyer sent a letter to CU acknowledging the Pac-12's receipt of the University of Colorado to withdraw from the Pac-12 conference. Now, we've reported that on this show directly. We told you that happened. Ross Dellinger is putting that out as breaking news, brand new. Here's another filing. In this filing, minutes before the August 4th board meeting was to commence, as we told you. Remember what we've reported on this show. Before you read this, what did we tell you? That Colorado and Washington stunned an entire collective of Pac-12 membership. The remaining members of the conference were shocked by Washington and Oregon's decision to leave the conference. And we were berated. We were told we didn't know what we were talking about. You don't have sources. Well, look at this.
Yeah.
In a court filing, look at the bottom paragraph. Minutes before the August 4th, 2023 board meeting was scheduled to commence, Oregon and Washington delivered a shocking announcement that they were withdrawing from the Pac-12 to join the Big Ten. Now, notice, if you go back to August 4th, watch our show, we're going to read almost that chapter and verse because it was texted to us.
Right.
That the board was about to meet in Oregon and Washington. They were on this meeting, a virtual meeting. Hey, how are you? Oh, good to see you, man. I played shitty golf this morning. Boy, let me tell you about this new chai latte I tried down at the local. Oh, hey, look, it's Oregon. What's going on, guys? Yeah, hey, congratulations on the coffee, but we got an announcement to make, which is essentially what happened. They stunned the Pac-12 with their notice.
Right.
In addition to their public announcement, both universities wrote letters to the conference announcing they would not be delivering a grant of media rights authorization to the conference for any time beyond August 1st, 2024, which is the last day in the fiscal year where Oregon and Washington, USC and UCLA officially become members of the Big Ten, August 1st, 2024.
Mm-hmm.
The last day of the fiscal year is July 31st. In a formalistic attempt to avoid application of the bylaws and removal from the board, an outcome mandated by the bylaws, their letter stated, for the sake of clarity, the university is not delivering notice of withdrawal from the conference at this time in contravention, which basically says we want to make sure that we remain in control. I think this is a huge win for the Pac-2. And as I have told you guys repeatedly over and over again, the Pac-2 is in the driver's seat here. There is no question about it. And why are they in the driver's seat, you may ask? Because there is precedent on the side of the Pac-2. And that precedent says that they kicked USC and UCLA off the board of directors of the Pac-12. Because in the bylaws, it says once you present notice to the board that you are withdrawing from the conference, you no longer have a seat on the board.
Sure.
So there's precedent in place.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we've reported chapter and verse, and now as months later, Ross Dellinger, what is this, almost 3 months later, Ross Dellinger is backing up what we reported on the show. all of a sudden Oregon and Washington want to try and keep their seat at the table. And as we've told you, sources in the conference have let us know that this is all a formality, and this is now probably going to court. So do you see anything different, new, or compelling in this case?
No, I don't see anything new. I think that, the line that really stands out to me, based on what we talked about before when we broke this news, is at the end when they say, for the sake of clarity, the university is not delivering notice of withdrawal, right? And so why would that matter? Well, what they're basically saying is, hey, we're not giving you notice we're leaving the conference, right? What we're saying is that we're just joining another conference once the grant of rights expires on July 31st, 2024. And so that's the game that the 10 who are leaving are going to play. Their argument here is essentially that, hey, we can't give you notice we're leaving a conference if we leave after the grant of rights is expired. The only problem with that is if you're the two who are remaining, you're saying it doesn't matter about the grant of rights. We still have a conference, whether it's on TV or not. And so it's this sort of back and forth, which is exactly why these two are not heading to a settlement. And I think that's the most important thing to understand. This is all a matter of perspective of the Pac-12 bylaws and governing rules, which is, hey, we think you guys should lose your seat at the table. And the 10 who left are saying, well, we don't think we should lose our seat at the table because the conference was essentially going to die anyway. That's the argument they're trying to make. So I don't think there's anything particularly new here. These arguments are the same.
Right?
It's now just kind of official in writing. Like, none of this is like, oh my God, this is like new breaking news. Like, it would be different if a judge had ruled on this or something, or like there had been some determination on how this was going to go forward or whatever. But that's not the case here. This is just court filings, essentially reaffirming what everybody already knew, but just doing that in writing in a court setting. That's what you're doing here. So to me, this is hardly breaking news. I'm not saying that Ross is making something up or anything. It's not really about Ross. I think he's just sort of doing what Ross Dellinger does, which is a great job reporting on the happenings in college football. But the fact of the matter is, none of this stuff is new or breaking. And I still maintain the essence of this case is how do we interpret the bylaws of the Pac-12 based on the grant of rights situation that was taking place, right? Because again, my initial reaction, it's 3 months ago now, or whatever, when we talked about this, my initial reaction was, hey, I think the 10 leaving have a strong case because, again, the grant of rights wasn't going to happen. And they're not leaving they're not noticing the conference they're leaving before 2024 happens. If that was the case, then I would say this is on lock. But this added factor of, hey, the grant of rights expires, we're all essentially free agents in that way, and we decided to go to a different place. And that's what I think has to be determined. And again, it's one of those things where we've never seen this before. And I don't know, like I'm inclined to think that a judge would just go by what the bylaws said. Hey, if you're leaving the conference, grants of rights aside, you're going to leave the conference. You don't have a voting say. Pac-2, you win.
Well, and I also think, not to undersell the lead, but I mean, the reason that Ross is backing up all of our reporting on this is because, according to Ross Dellinger at Yahoo Sports, this is right from his article at yahoosports.com, the two remaining members of the conference filed a motion for preliminary injunction in their court battle against the 10 outgoing Pac-12 schools and Commissioner George Kliavkoff. The order seeks stipulation that Washington State and Oregon State be the only voting members of the Pac-12 board until a final judgment in the case is rendered. And then in this last paragraph here, as part of the motion, the two schools produced dozens of pages of documents through discovery that support their claim. The claim at the center of the case is imperative control of what is believed to be more than $100 million in assets coming to the conference. And again, not to say we told you so, but you already know.
Yeah, this fight has always been over about $100 million of money that's separated into three different categories.
I think this fight is as over as it can be without having a judge's decision. And I am thrilled that all of this discovery has been had. I am thrilled I mean, the bottom line here is, and I think this is even Ross's headline, and this was filed 40 minutes ago. Washington State and Oregon State believe that the other remaining 10 members in the conference want to dissolve the conference and redistribute the Pac-12 assets equally.
Yeah.
Which is what we've been telling you, but they don't have a grounds to do that. I don't think this is, and again, I guess I'm not trying to cut the legs out from the story.
Yeah.
I just don't think this is new or spectacular I mean, this is exactly what we've known was going to happen.
Except now it's in motion and writing, and people are saying it's breaking news,
Yeah.
which it's not.
Wait, I don't necessarily think it's breaking news. I would agree with you on that.
It's not breaking news. I just think that this situation is thirsty for resolution. It's thirsty for moving along, because then we can get onto the business of scheduling alliances and merging and doing the things that all of us fans love to do and speculate about. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I just think that this situation is as real life as it gets, in terms of, hey, it's a leverage play if you're the 10 who left, and if you're the 2 remaining, you're going off of what the piece of paper said that y'all signed. And that's classic life scenario. And look, I get it. I just wonder, again, the question's always been, how long can the 2 remaining hold out financially? I don't know how long you can just continue to move forward through this process without having schedules done, without having any of the business side of the conference done.
And I'll just keep telling you the same thing I've said, that George Kliavkoff is the best thing and the worst thing that has happened to the Pac-2, because his text messages are just fruits that keep bearing nutrition for their fight. Like, they just keep continuing. There's some verbiage in these documents from Kliavkoff's text messages where he talked about there are only 4 board members left. And, George Kliavkoff, in his incompetence, continues to help the Pac-2 survive. And I think that the Pac-2 will win this court fight, because I just don't think that there are grounds to dissolve the league when there are 2 remaining members and the bylaws favor those 2 remaining members.
Yeah, and it's this difference between what a grant of rights actually is versus what a conference is. Because a lot of people like to just say, oh, they're the same thing. I mean, they're one and the same. Well, that's the farthest thing from the truth. They're not. A grant of rights is an archaic caveman deal done with TV partners to distribute your content. But that doesn't mean, if you don't have one of those, that you don't have a league. Now, on a piece of paper, your league's not going to last very long without a grant of rights. That's absolutely true. But that doesn't mean that the 10 who left just get to say, yep, we left because the grant of rights ran out, and that means the league was dead. That's where the Pac-2 is stepping in and staking their claim.
Yeah.
And I think it's a brilliant strategy. I think I agree. Again, I'm inclined to think if you put it in front of a judge, you're going to win that argument. But I'm telling you right now, the biggest question for the Pac-2 has nothing to do with what the bylaws say. It has everything to do with getting blood dry and extending this process as long as possible.
Absolutely right. And I think this is leverage to try and win this case. This is leverage to try and either dismiss the counterclaim from Washington and the 9 members who supported Washington's claim, because remember, this case is in the state of Washington. So the University of Washington filed a counterclaim that the other 9 members exiting with Washington supported in briefs. I just don't see that the exiting 10 have a leg to stand on here. I mean, it's going to be really difficult for them to win if this goes to court. Remember, we were told yesterday that there is not a settlement imminent, and you're now in a situation where you're 19 days away from this. So it's going to be, or 20 days away from this now. It's going to be very difficult for, I think, this case to stay out of court. Unfortunately, because I think it is very, very difficult on the Pac-2 for this to go to court, because that means you're probably past the first of the year, and it means you're not going to be able to do a merger with the Mountain West, and that means that you're going to wind up in a scheduling alliance.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. First one in today, Lance Johnson. Who does Monty hate more? Harbaugh, Kurtz, Pervin, or Ali? Well, I don't hate any of those people. I don't know. Who is Kurtz? And who is, oh, you mean like Urban Meyer? Like, okay, well, thanks for the $5, dude. Due to that reasoning, does that not mean USC and UCLA have a right because they are not leaving early? Also, they are leaving after the grant of rights are over. Well, I don't understand your question. So this is a very different situation than the ACC. The grant of rights is not at issue here in any way, shape, or form. What is at issue is who controls the TV trucks, who controls the copy machines and the copy paper and the hundreds of millions of dollars in assets. Who controls that? Who owns it? Who has legal right to it? I think a lot of people, tend to get confused about, what's actually happening. There is no grant of rights in the Pac-12. It expires on July 31st. August 1st, all of these 10 exiting members will be in different conferences. So you're looking at the Big Ten, obviously the Big 12 and the ACC. These 10 exiting members are going about their merry lives somewhere else. Oregon State and Washington State are trying to pick up the pieces and build a new Pac-12. And the argument that the 10 exiting are making is, hey, we invested in this conference, and we believe that we are owed an equal share of the full value of the Pac-12 assets, cash and infrastructure. And the Pac-2's argument is, well, that's our stuff because the conference isn't dead. So that's what the conversation's about. Don't bring in the grant of rights because it really has no place in the argument. It isn't. It's insignificant. It means nothing. What is significant are the bylaws of the Pac-12, which is a completely different document and set of rules to anything about this grant of rights, which is really null and void in this conversation. It means nothing. So the Pac-12 grant of rights means nothing in the grand scheme of things. So I think that's exactly right, Cougar Tracks. They're your real winners. The lawyers are the real winners.
100%.
The arbiter is the real winner because they're all getting paid. And I think the most difficult part is that you're looking at a situation with the Pac-2 where you're just burning through cash trying to win this case. And I think the Pac-10, the exiting 10 members of the Pac-12 are well aware of that. And you used the proper terminology before, getting bled dry. The Pac-2 are getting bled dry, period. I mean, that's really the only way to look at this. And I just
think it's the only win for the 10 leaving. I mean, I don't know if you're the 10 who left, legally speaking, how you would win this case because of the bylaws. But winning a case hardly is just the legal side. I mean, again, I can't emphasize this enough. The 10 who left are getting paid. You want to talk about grant of rights? The 10 who left have a fresh grant of rights as far as they're concerned. So to me, if I'm them, I'm sitting here not discussing, hey, how can we win this in court? I'm here talking about, hey, how can we elongate this thing as long as possible to get what we want? Or how can we create a threat of leverage to get what we want? Because that's the only way they're going to get what they want. And that's what I think we're waiting to see. So when Ross is tweeting court filings, it's not as though this is new information. It's just moving along.
Yeah, if you're Oregon State and Washington State, I would be asking for a dismissal based on this.
Yeah.
Which I have to believe is what they're after. And, like I said, it is pretty wild. I just don't know how the Pac-2 lose this.
Yeah.
And for all the Oregon State and Washington State fans who had been on the panic button, you're in the short term, you might struggle. This coming 2024, the next 18 months could be difficult. No question. But once you win this case, a lot of your problems are solved.
Mm-hmm.
And it clears the way for a merger with a G5 conference. And that G5 conference is going to be the Mountain West. And it is absolutely going to put Oregon State and Washington State in a much more viable financial position to compete in sports. Because any way you slice it, if you want to play in big games, which is what Scott Barnes, the athletic director at Oregon State, has said, and let's make sure that we all understand that. Scott Barnes has been very clear They want to compete for the championships at the highest level in college sports. That is the college football playoff and the NCAA tournament. And I think the only way you do that is spend lots and lots and lots of money. And if you can save money on travel cost and infrastructure and the human toll, you're going to be better off, because Washington State probably is not going to have the financial standing to compete at a high level. Washington State, I think of any of the Pac-12 members, Washington State is probably the one with the most to lose. Oregon State is the one with the most to gain. And I think if Oregon State is able to hang on to Scott Barnes and Jonathan Smith, and you can keep your infrastructure together, this is a win-win situation for Oregon State. It is very short-sighted for, most of the naysayers and the death bell ringers that, this conference is done and they're going to the Mountain West. You have no idea what you're talking about if that is your go-to, because there's nothing that says Oregon State and Washington State are going to be classified as G5s until it happens. Now, does a merger with the Mountain West under the Pac-12 umbrella change that? I don't know, but we're going to find out. And I think the only way to assure yourself that you're doing everything you can do to compete at the highest level is to keep the Pac-12 brand alive. And I think you're very close to doing that with this court filing. I think you are very close to doing that with this court filing. So it's going to be very interesting to see how all this plays out. But we'll see, man. I am excited for finality and closure for fans on this, because Oregon State fans and Washington State fans, I think Washington State fans are just far more pragmatic. You have financial difficulties. You have a president that is not well-heeled and well-liked and respected. I think you're going to struggle. I think Oregon State fans are just absolutely delusional. And yesterday on the show, you saw 4 or 5 Oregon State fans, just losing their minds over it.
Yeah.
And I just don't know why you would be upset about. There's Kyle Wilson right there. The Trader 10. Well, they're not traitors. Why are they traitors, Kyle? Oh, because you wouldn't have gone to the Big 10 if they had asked you to come? You wouldn't have gone to the Big 12? Yeah, you would have. They're not.
Oh.
See, this is where you go too far. They're not traitors. They did exactly what you would have done.
Maybe you wouldn't have been in that position if you hadn't had a list of things leading up to that.
Could be.
I mean, you only had 20 years to win a little more.
James Oak State fan. Monty doesn't hate Ollie Gordon. Why would anybody think I hate Ollie Gordon? Oh, because I said he doesn't belong in the Heisman Trophy discussion. Oh, so I must hate Ollie Gordon. He doesn't think he's Heisman ready. That's exactly right. Exactly right. Mike Smith, they are in the driver's seat and they're singing "Go Speed Racer Go." Yeah, let's hurry up and get this done.
Seriously.
Let's hurry up. Mike Smith, Monty hates America. Jake hates the world. Exactly right. Exactly right. Salty Drunk says the thirst for vindication and self-indulgent program. Well, I mean, if
we don't say it, who's going to say it?
Yeah, who's going to clap for us? Because nobody does.
So yeah, you're damn right. We're going to say, hey, we had this 3 months ago, and the one who always gets all the credit, Ross Dellinger, is reporting it now. Yeah, we're going to say that.
Yeah, absolutely. Kyle Wilson says, Jake, how is text from GK not breaking news? Because it's been out there. This is not new information.
Yeah.
I think it's exciting. It's in a court filing. But I mean, have we not openly talked about these text messages before? Have we not if you read this document, in all seriousness, read this document right here, Kyle, and tell me what you haven't heard on this show. Because all of this was on the show. All of it. The letter also stated under Section and Constitution, Chancellor DiStefano, CU's representation on the Pac-12 Board of Directors automatically ceases effective immediately. I believe we specifically told you that on the show.
Yeah.
I mean, specifically told you that. Go up to example 24. Just as it had done with USC and UCLA, the conference took immediate steps to confirm that CU's representation had automatically been removed from the board. I think that's almost a direct quote from us. Here's the filing about, hey, minutes before the meeting, Oregon and Washington delivered a shocking announcement.
We had that story for you.
Right, immediately to finalize a deal with Apple and move the Pac-12 forward. Declaration from President Murphy in support of plaintiff's motion for preliminary injunction. Oregon State and Washington State filed the injunction. Like, this is not breaking news. This is not unknown. It's wild, though, that George Kliavkoff is actually helping the Pac-2. Because text messages now, I wonder how many people do you think understand that text messaging is lethal? Listen, if you're looking to unalive somebody, don't text message about it.
Yeah, Trevor Bauer knows about text messages.
Right? Save Trevor Bauer's ass, quite literally. If you're going to commit a crime, don't text about it. Don't email about it. Your electronic footprint is going to come back to get you. Look at this Michigan thing we're going to talk about in 5 minutes. More text messages today. Like, you just can't do it, man.
Yeah.
I just think it is.
It sets you up for failure. It's the trap.
Kyle Wilson, and I'll continue to quote unquote report a large collection of Oregon State alums have stated they will boycott if we join or merge with a lesser conference.
Okay, great. Report it. Like, I don't know
So
what
wait,
you want us
let me
to
get
say.
this right. So you have one of the best athletic directors in the country. And if he says my best move is to join the Mountain West so we can have continued access to the NCAA tournament and the college football playoff, you're going to boycott. That's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Then I don't want to ever say, I want you to change your beaver head. Don't ever come back. If you're going to boycott Scott Barnes, one of the best sports administrators, bar none, if he tells you that he wants to burn down Reser Stadium because it's in the best interest of Oregon State, you should help him. You should go get him a lighter. Because the guy is an elite operator. And for you to make a ridiculous statement like boycott if we join or merge with a lesser conference, burn your shit right now. Like, don't even support Oregon State. This is one of the most embarrassing. And I'm not even, I don't think I'm even being over the top. This is one of the most embarrassing comments we've ever had on the show. I think it's one of the worst, one of the most foolish. You're never, let's break some news for you, Kyle. You're never boycotting anything. If you're a season ticket holder, you're going to keep being a season ticket holder. If you watch games, you're telling me if they go to the Mountain West, you're never watching a game. Yeah. What are you doing? Yesterday you were in here in all caps, yelling and screaming, making statements completely. I love Oregon State, and most of the fans are great. Kyle, dude, you have got to find yourself, because it's stuff like this. A large group, there's no large group. There's not. You are the group. Like, that's one of the worst things I have ever heard in the world. That's it's college sports. What are you going to do? You're going to all of a sudden put on some duck gear? Is that because you're not going to watch college football?
Yeah, big Dan Lanning guy, huh?
You're not going to watch college football. You're not going to watch it when they go to the college football playoff out of the Mountain West. Yeah, somehow I don't like that. Do you guys understand that boycotting doesn't mean anything? By now, if you haven't figured it out, you don't mean anything to your Oregon States, to your Notre Dames. Do you think Notre Dame even knows I'm alive? They don't give two rats' asses what the fan base thinks. Nobody cares. They're not making decisions for you, based on you, for your best interest. They don't care, because you're going to keep buying popcorn. You're going to keep buying jerseys. You're going to keep watching them on TV. You're going to subscribe. You're going to buy. There's no boycott. There's no boycott. Like, come on, man. And exactly. This isn't the end of Oregon State. So you coming in here and losing your mind? Oh my God. Like, I just don't, it's this stuff that makes me crazy. It's this stuff that makes me crazy. And hey, Kyle, burn all your stuff then. No, I won't watch a college football team if my team gets relegated. Well, first, relegation is not in existence in North American sports. So I don't know how you would get relegated, because last time I checked, Oregon State doesn't play in European football. So, I mean, unless I'm wrong, I don't know if you have if you guys field a team in the Premier League that I'm unaware of. I mean, it could happen, I guess. But no, you're not boycotting anything. You can talk tough, dude. Puff your chest out. If you're boycotting, why aren't you boycotting now? What are you waiting for? I mean, you were in here yesterday saying there's no positive outcome. Come on. Phil Venzer, Kyle, you have no class. Exactly right. Gumby fresh out. Notre Dame knows about Uncle Monty. Yeah, they don't, and I don't expect them to.
Notre Dame, our mother.
Ethan McIntyre, you'd be lucky to have Gloria at the helm. You would.
Agreed.
Holy cow, thank you. You're gonna Steven says that's not true. Ask Bud Light and Target. You really think Bud Light and Target has not been boycotted in any way, shape, or form? And I got news for you. Bud Light just did a deal with the UFC, and Dana White essentially stuck his middle finger up and said he doesn't care what you think. Remember I said that part about, fans, we don't matter? Dana White is the best example of that.
Yeah.
Because he just did $100 million deal with Bud Light. And you're going to buy the pay-per-views and you're going to watch the fights.
This is fucking America.
Like it's, and I don't, maybe this is just the offshoot, but do you really think as a fan that you can boycott anything? Do you really think that's a thing?
Yeah, it's not a thing. And there's too many fans for your boycott to matter.
And I think the funny part is, everybody's like, oh, Bud Light's losing shelf space. Sure. Did Bud Light take damage? They did. You know what the funny thing is? Nobody complained when the Kelsey brothers were on their podcast drinking Bud Light. Traditional blue wrapped Bud Light cans. Not the end of the world, is it? Like, you don't matter. You don't matter. We as fans, and I'm not trying to be a jerk, but like it just doesn't matter, man. Like, and I wish we had real. The funny thing about the stupid relegation comment, the only league in the world where fans matter, that'd be the English Premier League.
Yeah,
that'd be the English Premier League. Like,
it's different over there. It's their life. It's all they have.
It's all they have. That's right. It's absolutely everything that they have. And
the NFL, they don't have baseball. They don't have hockey. You know, like they don't have 101 sports to watch. They're not worried about the Sunday ticket. Like, they're worried about their club's schedule.
Yeah, I wish it mattered. I really wish. I wish we had some recourse. I'm serious. I wish that as fans, like, dude, I'm a fan of the Chicago Cubs, man. Like, I want to boycott.
Yeah,
I want to boycott, and there's no boycotting. There is no boycotting. Like, it's unfortunate, because if there was, I would.
Yeah, I
absolutely would, and it's really too bad, because there's nothing I can do.
Yeah,
there's nothing I can do. And listen, again, for all things holy, Notre Dame, our mother.
Yeah,
I would boycott, because we lost to Ohio State, because you can't count past 10.
Notre Dame, our mother.
No, I wouldn't boycott. But the Cubs, yeah, I would boycott the Cubs. Can't do it. Because we don't matter. We really don't. What's up? OG Gary says, hello, boss. Oh, is Boss Frog here today? Jake, Boss Frog's here today.
That's great, man.
So good to see you. Let's see. Kelsey got all kinds of grief for selling out. Yeah, I never saw that grief. Funny thing is, the paychecks are still flowing in, and he's still taking 3 hours to get dressed after he taps Taylor Swift's ass.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow I don't think he's struggling at all.
Macaque.
The Todd Father. I thought of those recently. Can you imagine if Bud Light was a UFC sponsor when they blew themselves up? Oh my God. But, and I think we talked about this at the time the Bud Light thing happened. I could be wrong, but did anybody think that Bud Light was just going away? Did you think
I think there were
AB,
people calling for it, but
did you think that AB was, I mean, it was by all accounts a disaster for AB, right? Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah.
Everybody got fired. Okay, great. But did you really think people were not going to drink Bud Light?
Yeah, and I think what's funny is it's so funny that UFC's involved with Bud Light. Like everyone thought that Dana White's world was going to end after he slapped his wife. How'd that work out for you? Still doing his thing.
And still drinking Bud Light in the UFC, which I think is amazing. Phil Benzer, I tried to boycott my wife. That didn't work. I'm worried my wife's going to boycott me. Jason, what's better, being in the Pac-12 but never winning anything, or not having a better chance at the expanded playoff? The funny thing is, and this is going to come off as me being a jerk, and I'm not trying to be. Like, what ground does Oregon State and Washington have to be on a high horse at all?
They don't. You don't. You haven't won enough.
You haven't won anything. What has Oregon State and Washington State won in recent memory in the Big Two?
The reality is that Oregon State and Washington State, a lot of years, are, 4A G5 teams. Let's be honest. They have more funding. They have better facilities.
Yeah.
So that makes them a P5. But when you're talking about a football team, yeah, there's a lot of years where, you would be top team in the Mountain West, or any Group of 5 conference. There just is. And I don't even think that's throwing shade. Like, there are some years where you excel and you're 10, 11 wins and then, your ass beat in whatever bowl you go to. And then there are other years where you're like a 5-win team and nobody talks about you anyway. So that's what I'm saying. Like, saying you're going to boycott your program and like you just, it tells me how out of touch you are with what's actually happening. And as fans, that's what we don't want to talk about. Oh, I'm going to boycott. Okay, well, do you know what you're really saying with that? Do you understand that you actually would have a better chance to get to the playoff and be relevant and do all the things you want to do in the Mountain West rather than the Pac-12, because the competition is going to be a little lower and you can win the conference every year and, you can take the Big Ten route, if you will, but nobody wants to talk about that. And so that's why I don't understand, why are you sitting here talking about boycotts? You should be sitting here talking about winning a court case and getting a merger done so you can move forward. I don't understand why it's some world-ending thing for you.
Yep, I agree. What's up, Greg Hawkins? Good to see you. Boyd Lake, the SEO King of America. Josh Harrison, you guys are downplaying the Oregon State dilemma. The athletic department knows many fans will quit supporting the team if they are playing Mountain West teams every week. They won't.
What makes you think that? What makes you think that a 8-0 Oregon State team who's, let's call it 10th in the country, let's say, in an expanded college football playoff environment. Hey, you're 11th in the country. Or hell, you're 14th in the country. You're right on that line of getting in. You really think that Oregon State fans aren't going to be like, all right, we're a victim. We got relegated. Let's go support the club at least. The least we can do is go out and support these guys who got victimized by the 10 people or the 10 institutions that left. You really tell me that people are going to leave? You're not going to leave. You're not. You're not. What are you going to leave in what? You're going to turn on, like you said, Oregon? Or you're going to turn on some other California team, let's say? Or, another team in the P&W? Come on, dude.
You just can't.
Come on.
Yeah, come on now. Delaric, my boycott is for Maverick till they trade the Mavericks till they trade Luka. Hey, burn it. Burn it, man. Salty Drunk. Did you slip in an extra buckshot, Monty? You're fired up, dude. I hate the fan who's like, oh, I'm going to boycott. I'm burning my jersey. Okay, go ahead.
What are you, a LeBron hater?
Go for it. How stupid I'm out. Miami Heat are losing. I'm out. All the Heat fans leaving or burning LeBron's jersey, or you're an idiot. You're going to buy another one. Again, I go back to Bud Light. Look at all the people who look at Bud Light sales. Yeah, did they tank? Absolutely. Did they lose billions? Yes. But look, their sales are
Oh, because we all know that we all want that product.
Because we're humans and we're weak. We can't stay away. We can't stay away.
Don't tell me.
Come on, man.
Don't tell me you're not going to flip on the tube every week to watch the Beavers, dude. Don't tell me you're not going to do that. And don't tell me you're not going to be more energized in the day-to-day, damn well knowing that your path to the college football playoff is easier. Don't tell me that, dude. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of bucked up, let's get you bucked up. The official energy drink of the Monty Show. And this one right here, friends, we only have 5 days left in the month. Well, technically 6, but we need a big push on free samples of bucked up Buckshot. We're just like 50 away from breaking a record. So go get it right now. Buckedup.com. You just search Buckshot, use the promo code Monty to get 20% off at checkout, or in the description below, there's a link for free samples. They'll send 6 free Buckshots right to your front door. And trust me when I say it'll change your life. So cheers to you, friends. Played absolutely mediocre golf today because they did not have a Buckshot this morning. And then, I absolutely lost my mind today right leading up to the show because we had all kinds of technical difficulties.
This is a code 10 abort.
So it takes me 90 minutes to write the show and set up the show. Had it all written out, ready to go, and the system crashed. So I just relax, take a little Bucky, feel better about it. And the thing I love about Buckshot is we were looking at 5-hour energy today. And do you guys realize the garbage that is in the other competitors to Buckshot? Because that's really what this is. If you look at 5-hour energy or any other energy supplement you use, that's what Buckshot is. 200 milligrams of naturally sourced caffeine. That's a big difference. It's not synthetic. It's 200 milligrams of naturally sourced caffeine with a bunch of nootropics, which go right to your brain. It's brain food, makes you think more clearly, much more efficient, much better at getting those tasks done. And that is if you have an Excel spreadsheet, a meeting, you have a long drive home. Hey, maybe you just need mental focus so you can get through dinner and get the kids in bed. Whatever it is you need, Buckshot's going to give you that mental edge you've been looking for so that you can have your best day every single day at buckedup.com. Use the promo code Monty to get 20% off. But right now, go get it, guys, through the end of the month. Free samples for your drinking pleasure.
Yeah.
For your energizing pleasure.
Yeah. For your, take a Buckshot when you're putting together your plan to boycott your team.
Yeah.
How about that?
Take a Buckshot so that you can clearly go through your entire wardrobe and burn everything from your team because they got relegated.
That's pretty much self-explanatory.
And listen, man, I really hope that I want to see Kyle and every other fan who's like, oh, hey, I am boycotting Oregon State. I want to see everything on fire. I want to see everything in the garbage. I want to see you throw it into a wood chipper. Don't hold back.
And please don't do it while drinking Bud Light. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Public service announcement.
Yeah, thank you.
But do make sure you videotape it. We'll play it on the show. We will play it on the show. And we want to see it. When you get relegated, make sure that you and all 4 of your friends are out there torching all your beavers. Okay?
That came out wrong.
Yeah, PETA doesn't approve of this message. Not like your regular beef, like you're
right,
you're being a beeve.
Right.
The beef
and stuff.